Hey guys, it's Chloe. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to week 2 of the Korean study challenge. So this week it's grammar and writing. So what I'm planning on doing is leaving writing until like the end of the week, like not including doing practice questions and things, but one of my goals this year is to do like a diary entry each week. So that will be like my main focus for writing. So I'll leave that until the last day probably. But for grammar, I'll mainly be using Korean grammar in use and the Sogang Korean textbooks. So this is actually day 2, but I didn't film yesterday because my cold was at its peak. Basically what I did was I had sat down to study like a new grammar point from the intermediate textbook, but what I ended up doing was reviewing the grammar from the beginner's textbook. So I have the 3A textbook and student book. I'm going to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of these textbooks. I think because they're more suited for like classroom study and I'm using them to self-study. So what I do is I write out the vocab for each lesson, which is in this book. I think they have all the translations for the vocab. And then again, using this book, I write out the notes for the grammar and the example sentences, and then I do the practice question. And then I write out the dialogues as well. As dialogues in each lesson. So I'm going to get on with some more of the practice questions from the Sogang books. I probably will just finish off this chapter for now because I've got a uni assignment I need to start working on. So it's already the final day of the second week of the Korean Study Challenge. So I didn't film on Wednesday because I was feeling really rough, and then didn't film yesterday because I just didn't have time. I had to go up to Norwich for my Chinese lesson. So what I did on Wednesday, what did I do on Wednesday? I started on another grammar point from Korean grammar in use. So this, at the moment, is the main textbook that I'm using for grammar. So I started another grammar point. I didn't finish it, I didn't do the questions, so I'll finish those off today. And then yesterday I didn't have time to like sit down and study, so I just did some like flashcards on the train. But yeah, if I show you kind of how I study with Korean grammar in use. So I have a colour coding system. So the colours I use for Korean, I use like this pack of mildliners. I've basically got a pack of mildliners for each language. So yeah, all my notes are in Korean. So I just write out the grammar point up at the top and I highlight that in purple, so like across the whole page, so I can kind of see where the new grammar point is. And then I write a bit about the usage in Korean. And then this is kind of like how it's formed. And then I write out the example sentences and then I highlight the whole sentence where the grammar point is actually used. And then in the book it often gives you like extra information or like certain points to remember regarding the grammar point. So I write those down here and I highlight those in orange. And then I do the practice questions. So I write out the practice questions and then I highlight, the same as the example sentences, I highlight the sentence where the grammar point is used. So I just got home from work. I just wanted to kind of quickly talk about the writing portion of this week. So I did the writing portion yesterday, Friday, and I was able to write about 3 sentences without having to look anything up, but they were very simple sentences, so I did have to like refer to my notes. I wrote about half an A5 page in the end, which isn't loads, but by the end of the year I'm hoping that I'll be able to write like a whole A5 page, maybe 2 A5 pages, like without having to refer to my notes. But I think what some people kind of don't realise about language learning is that it is all about practice, and I'm very much out of practice. I do not have practice in writing Korean or speaking Korean, because I know I definitely fell into the trap where I was like, oh, I'll use the language more once I've reached this level, but then you're not in the habit of using it. So then it's a lot harder to actually use like more advanced stuff, because besides like very basic sentences, like I can understand the grammar, I can usually pick up vocabulary from context, but I cannot use it myself, which is very frustrating, to be honest with you, because in terms of like understanding, like my level is a lot higher than the stuff I can use. I can only use like basic things. So this isn't just for Korean, this is like for Japanese as well. Chinese not so much, because I'm learning it like in a class, so I am talking to people, but even like doing exercises and things, it's kind of like filling the gaps. So I feel like while I can form the grammar points, I can't form full sentences, if that makes sense. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to finish this week's video there, because that's kind of just been on my mind this week. In terms of grammar's been fine. I love studying grammar. I did a chapter from the Sogang books and another chapter from Korean Grammar in Use, so that's all fine. So next week's topics are speaking and listening. Sorry this video was so short as well, like being sick kind of really threw me off. Like I didn't study as much as I would have wanted to, and I didn't film nearly as much as I had planned, but hopefully next week's video will be a bit more interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna end it there, so I hope you could take something away from this video, so I'll see you next time.